Hello students, this is Ms. Headley. Welcome to Lesson 3.1 in our Reveal Math workbook. Today we're going to be going over ratios. We will start our lesson on page 128. Now, on page 128 we have an example of making a fruit drink. It says the recipe shows the ingredients needed to make one batch of sparkling apple cranberry fruit drink. How can you describe the relationship between the apple juice and the fruit drink? What about between the apple juice and the sparkling water? One way that we could do this is we could use a tape diagram. Now, in our recipe of apple cran fizz, we have 2 cups of apple juice, 1 cup of cranberry juice, and 7 cups of sparkling water. These boxes represent a tape diagram. Let's create our very first part-to-whole ratio. Because I have 2 cups of the apple juice, 1 cup of the cranberry juice, and 7 cups of the sparkling water, there are 10 cups in total. So I have 10 boxes. And forgive me, my boxes are not all the same size. It's okay. Now, in order to demonstrate a part-to-whole ratio, let's compare the amount of apple juice to the entire fruit drink. When we want to compare a part to a whole, we connect the 2 items. So this entire bar represents our apple fruit drink, our apple cran fizz. This section over here that's in red represents our 2 cups of apple juice. So that's why I have colored in, 2 boxes. Remember, this type of ratio is what's known as a part to a whole. We could say that the ratio is 2 to 10. We can also write it as 2 to 10 using the word 2, or we can write it as a fraction. Only part-to-whole ratios can be written as a fraction, because this fraction bar right here is saying that there are 2 out of 10. 2 cups of apple juice out of the total 10 cups of liquid. Now let's talk about a part-to-part ratio. In a part-to-part ratio, we can write it with a colon in the middle, or we could write it with the word 2. I'm going to take my same recipe of apple cranberry fizz, but this time I'm going to compare the apple juice, which I will abbreviate as AJ, to the amount of sparkling water, and I'm just going to abbreviate that as SW for sparkling water. Now, if you look at the top of page 128, you will see that there are 2 cups of the apple juice. So that will be my first term. And there are 7 cups of the sparkling water. So that will be my second term. Remember that I could also write this ratio as 2 to 7 using the word 2 in the middle. Now, the reason I cannot do a fraction is because that would be saying that 2 out of the 7 cups are apple juice, and that's not true. If you look at my diagram, the reason that these parts are not connected is because they are both parts. If I put them together, that would be me saying that this is the whole recipe. And if you remember, we still have the 1 cup of cranberry juice to add to the apple juice and sparkling water. So if we were to connect these boxes, we would be missing a piece. Now let's look at page 129. This time, we have a new person. Her name is Tahira. Tahira is making a salad dressing using the recipe shown. She plans to use 4 tablespoons of vinegar. So first of all, my salad dressing recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and half of a teaspoon of mustard. The directions say to mix well before serving. If you've ever used a salad dressing that calls for olive oil and vinegar, you will notice that it tends to separate over time. Now, this doesn't mean that the dressing is bad, it just means that it is separated because of the density. You must shake it up, otherwise you're just going to pour a bunch of oil or vinegar onto your salad or sandwich. If I want to compare the amount of vinegar, which is 1 tablespoon, to the amount of olive oil, which is 3 tablespoons, there we go. Let me switch up my colors a little bit. Now, let's say we're going to compare the amount of vinegar, 1 tablespoon, to olive oil, which is 3 tablespoons. We could write this ratio as 1 to 3, or 1 to 3, using the word 2 in the middle. Another way I could demonstrate this relationship is by drawing a double number line. When we compare on a double number line, make sure that you keep in order the words that we're comparing. So for example, we're comparing the vinegar to the olive oil. So vinegar comes first, or is on the top, and olive oil comes second, so it is on the bottom. Your comparison on a double number line always starts with 0. If you use 0 tablespoons of vinegar, you're using 0 tablespoons of olive oil. We already know that for every 1 tablespoon of vinegar, there are 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Now let's say that Tahira wants to increase the amount of vinegar that she uses. In order to keep her recipe consistent, which means tasting the same no matter how much she makes, we've got to keep the ratio of vinegar to olive oil the same. If we directly double the amount of vinegar, going from 1 to 2, we need to then double the amount of olive oil. So double of 1 is 2, double of 3 is 6. If she wants to keep going and use 3 tablespoons of vinegar, 1, 2, 3, she will have to increase the amount of olive oil, 3, 6, 9. And this sort of pattern could keep going. For vinegar, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Olive oil, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and you could keep going. So if Tahira wanted to use 4 tablespoons of the olive oil, I would look directly underneath my 4 to see that I need 12 tablespoons of the olive oil. Remember, 4 to 12 is a rate, and if we want to compare per 1, this is our unit rate. This will conclude the first section of Lesson 3-1.